Greetings, this is Dr. Wilson, and I want to overview with you some of the ways in which and reasons why you might want to play with the idea of sketchcasting. Sketchcasting was initially kind of put out there by a guy named Rick Ziotti in 2007. He even created some Web 2.0 software that used to be available at SketchcastingCombo, but is no longer on the web for some reason. But the concept of sketchcasting, his initial idea was that it's kind of like a podcast and a blog post in one. So for people who are social media people and really, want to put their thoughts and ideas on the web, sketchcasting was a different way to kind of, as he called it, sit around a table in a coffee shop and draw on a napkin your latest ideas. Well, I think we should probably start with a definition of sketchcasting. I think that probably what you would find in just about any place is a definition like this. You see, sketchcasting is a process by which you create a sketch, either with or without a voice, and then somehow distribute this online. There are really three things you need to consider before you jump right into sketchcasting. The first one is you need to determine, I think, what are you going to sketchcast about? And, is sketchcasting really what you need to be using to show this? And so you can do this in a variety. You can think about this in a couple of ways. Do you have visual content that really can be enhanced by the process of sketchcasting? And if so, then probably sketchcasting is the right thing for you to choose to use. Another thing to consider is this the kind of lesson or topic or criteria where really seeing is believing? And I think what I mean strongly by this is if you need to show a process and illustrate and talk through, and it's something they need to see over and over again instead of maybe just what the answer key is, then I think a sketchcast might be the appropriate kind of tool for you. The next thing that you need to kind of pre-think when you're trying to decide whether sketchcasting is the right thing to do is how are you going to go about delivering content? Will you take this content and will you draw examples? Will you write and talk through the kinds of examples that you need? Perhaps what you'll end up doing is gather pictures. And if you're going to gather pictures, you could annotate on those pictures as you're talking about things. So maybe you have a picture of a heart and you want to draw arrows and things and label and talk about the different functions. Well, then you can bring in pictures and sketchcast on top of some already, so you don't have to be the illustrator all the time. You can bring in pictures. So you need to decide what do you need to have as a resource in order to begin the process of sketchcasting, and then gather those things together and kind of pre-plan what it is you're going to say and do. And finally, and probably the trickiest part, is you have to identify what tool you're going to use and how you're going to make that particular sketchcast happen. And so this is where it gets a little bit tricky. There's really two different kinds of ways that you can do this, and I think you know, there's not one better than the other. It just depends upon what you have access to. So you can see here, it really comes down to what do you have access to. Initially, when Rich Ziotta started this whole process, he really only had access to tablet PCs. And so he was doing all of his sketching using a tablet PC, which at that time was very expensive. Now, of course, we have a variety of tablet options, and people even have iPads, perhaps minis or regular, anything like that. And so if you've got those kinds of devices, then this becomes a fairly simple process, because you can use a variety of apps, and really I have several that I might recommend. I have talked a little bit about this before, but EduCreations is a great app. The one thing I have trouble with EduCreations is it does take a long time to process and then get it uploaded to a website. But EduCreations is a nice one. I am using right now Explain Everything for this one. And I find it everything. I find it very helpful. I saw the other day on someone's Web 2.0 video that they created that they use some software called Poplet, which is a Web 2.0 tool, but it does allow annotating within the little brainstorming bubbles. And so that might be something that you choose to use. So anyway, there's a variety of ways that you can record and narrate at the same time. If you use Poplet, you would probably also have to combine that with a screen recording software. Like, you know, if you used something like QuickTime Pro or Screencast-O-Matic, you know, something like that. Now, you can always do a low-tech version of this. You can use either a whiteboard with dry erase markers. You can use a tablet of paper and markers, perhaps, and combine that with maybe a mounted video recording device, which, by the way, could be something as simple as a phone that takes video, or it could be, you know, your iPad or whatever else you wanted to use. And you would want to mount it so it was stable, and then it would record video as you do create examples. And I'm going to show you an example of one that I've done that way here shortly. I have found the easiest thing for me to do is to pause my Sketchcast, write a few things, and then come back on and talk about it. So you can use this feature, I think, if you find that helpful. I'm going to show you a little bit about Explain Everything if you choose to use this app. It's very inexpensive. I don't know, $1.99, $2.99, something like that. And so you can see that I want to show you just a little bit about what this is the environment that I have. I have a toolbar here in Explain Everything, and you can see, you know, here's my pen tool, and if you press and hold, and I'll show you in just a minute that you'll get different options. This is your import, and so I'll show you some of the options there. This is either erase or eliminate, and that tool works well. Undo, of course. So you have, and here's where I record, but then once it's recorded, I'll also have a button right next to it that can be pause. And so I flip back and forth so that I get that created the way I want to. You can see here if I press and hold on my pen, I have options on pen thickness, pen colors, and that helps me know best what I want to use as I'm writing. Here you can see if I press and hold where I can import things. There's all kinds of options from where you can go and import different things. And if in fact you're trying to do some kind of screen recording overview, notice it'll also give you, the option to go to a web browser. And so if you want to overview how to use some kind of web tool or a website, then you can go to a web browser and it would actually then record everything that you're doing on that web browser. When you get finished with your video, you can see there are a variety of things you can do with the video. You can send it straight to YouTube. If you want to do any editing, you might send it to your photo roll or to your email so that you can take care of a few things, maybe back in iMovie if you choose to do that, and then export it to YouTube or, put it in Dropbox or whatever. So in the end, what I hope that you will see is that it can be an easy tool. I think it's a lot of fun to actually, create some drawings. I hope that it makes it a fun experience for you as you're playing. I think really if we can sketch and talk and diagram, remember a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I hope that you will kind of plan and prepare some kind of sketch cast that you can use and have some fun with it. Sketch it out and let us see your artistic abilities in all of this, but also teach us something new. So if you want to do a sketch cast and you don't have a tablet, really there's no problem. All you need is the ability to have a video camera and then a whiteboard, which you can use easily in any format. And you can draw your own lessons. You can illustrate concepts. You can even show how to do multiplication if that's what you need to do. All of that can be recorded very easily. So all you have to do is find the right tools. In this particular case, what I've done is, as a teacher, thinking about how I'm going to teach my students, then I think about what they need to see from me. And really, in this case, I created my own little setup as I wanted to make my recordings. So I quickly thought, so what am I trying to convey to the student? What kind of examples do they need to see? And also, how do I want to create those examples? Can I use cutout drawings if I'm not an artist? Well, sure, no problem. I can also think about, well, maybe all I want to do is do a paper and pencil. Just put paper and pencil down, and you don't even have to have a whiteboard. In this particular case, what I had to do was I found a tripod, and you take your tripod, put a little video camera here, and I set up a whiteboard so that I could be sure and frame the whole section, and then I can mark what I needed to have recorded. Another option that you could use is you could take, if you had, now I don't know why you do this, but if you had an iPad and you still wanted to use a whiteboard, you could set up books here, with a platform, put your iPad on top, and it would lean over the edge, and in here becomes your whiteboard, and you could make your recordings. So there's a variety of ways to think through this. You can show characters, you can show development of things, but for sure you can still sketch and cast information for your students to learn. So I hope you'll find this helpful. Good luck on your own Sketchcast and have some fun with it.